Heide Park is one of the awesome theme parks I got to visit while in Europe. It is located in Soltau, Germany, which is up in part of northern Germany. They are home to 9 roller coasters, a total of 41 rides, and it is a Merlin theme park. The same company that owns Gardaland, Thor Park, Alton Towers, etc., etc. And I gotta say, this place is pretty cool, despite the fact that our experience there was not the best. And really, that had nothing to do with the actual park itself. Half of the day was just rainy and cold and dreary. But I swear, German weather, I don't get it. Halfway through the day, the clouds cleared and it was blue skies and gorgeous out. Once that happened, I had a blast here. So I'm going to do my best to ignore the weird weather that we experienced and instead talk about the park, a little bit on the attractions itself, and give my overall thoughts on it. Now, first thing I need to address is the sad truth. Guys, I did not get a chance to ride Colossos, the massive wooden roller coaster, what many consider to be the best ride in the park. And it's because it was closed for the past few years. It just opened up, so naturally when I was there this past summer, I did not get a chance to do it. Believe me, I'm very sad about it. I'm pretty convinced it would have been my favorite ride there because I love those kind of rides. And I will say, without it, the park definitely felt like they were lacking that big standout roller coaster. So I think that's why I walked away from Heide Park saying, you know, it was good, but something was just missing. I'm fairly certain Colossus was that thing that I felt it was missing, but if anything, it gives me a reason to go back. Now, talking about some of the dynamics of the park, specifically in the layout, atmosphere, the park is mostly a circular layout with this large lake in the center, and that's actually really picturesque. All throughout this park, you can walk right up to the lake, and this is really a key difference between European theme parks and American theme parks, is there isn't a fence preventing you from going in the water or anything. They just trust that you won't be an idiot and accidentally fall in the lake. So that's one of the things I thought was really cool. It really allows you to get right up there and close, get some good pictures of some of the rides. Architecturally, I love the entrance, all the brick and cobblestone, the medieval look it all has. But the entire park is not like that. They do have some themed areas, including Transylvania, Peppa Pig Land, a very small How to Train Your Dragon area. Like every European park, there's got to be a Wild West area, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of these specific areas. The first I want to address is an area that I didn't even know the park had, and that's the How to Train Your Dragon area. Now, I absolutely love the movie. It's my favorite animated movie, but I gotta say, this area I felt like could have been better executed. It was pretty small, it was definitely a kids area, but it was just very loosely themed to the movie. They only had a few rides there. Their main one is that they have this small boat ride. Interestingly enough, that actually was our last ride of the day that we did at Heide Park, and that was actually because they ended up closing earlier than we expected. We were hoping to do Krake one last time, but instead our last ride was this small How to Train Your Dragon boat ride. It was cute, it was a fun little area, but I definitely would have liked to have seen more. The other main kids area is Peppa Pig Land. I feel like that's actually a pretty solid area. It is not the best Peppa Pig Land that I have seen, but it's cool. They have a fun little George dinosaur ride. We did that because it looked hilarious and it was pretty funny. It was cute, very cute. And the part of the park that we really saw most people is they have this big area that includes rides such as Flug der Dämonen, Big Loop, Limit, Krake, their bobsled. All these rides are pretty close to each other, so you don't have to do a lot of walking to get from one ride to another. However, I will say, a good chunk of this park is really a terrain park. The whole back section is more elevated. The front is pretty flat, but if you want to get to the back of the park, you gotta do some walking uphill. And I think that was one thing I personally was not expecting, especially since the front is deceiving. Everything's on flat ground and you're like, oh, this must be the entire park. But you don't realize that that area, especially closer towards Flug der Dämonen and Limit, that whole section is uphill. Speaking of Limit, I would say that was not the worst Vekoma SLC I've done. Not as bad as it could have been. So many of their main roller coasters are all white. I'm not entirely sure why. Part of me wonders if they do that on purpose just to give it a nice clean look, or if it's specifically because of the theme, which I don't think would be the reason why, or if there's some sort of code that they have to follow because of where the park is located. But yeah, a lot of the rides are just plain white. A little weird. Flug der Dämonen, really well themed. Would have liked to have seen a near miss element, but I enjoyed the theme. And one thing that I actually really liked about this ride had nothing to do with the coaster itself, but all of the ride operators were dressed like executioners. Like, I was seeing their uniforms for what they all were wearing, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that they're actually like wearing these. It's like so dark. I would say that goes for a lot of the rides here, as you will notice some of the attractions Their uniforms are gonna match the theme of the ride. It just so happens that the associates dressed at Flug der Dämonen were the ones that stood out to me the most. Another themed ride you'll notice that at is they have a Ghostbusters shooting dark ride. It is a Triotech, so it is very heavily screen based, and it was okay. I think I was definitely expecting a bit more, so it was not, I think, as good as I was hoping, but it was fine. You know, it wasn't anything terrible. It's nice that they at least have a dark ride here. Now, going with the Ghostbusters theme, that's interesting, because Heide Park, it's weird that you have so much of the park that is not based on any intellectual properties, just general themes, and then you have a Ghostbusters ride, a Peppa Pig Land, and then a How to Train Your Dragon Land. 3 completely different properties. I just thought that was interesting. I was surprised that they were there to begin with. Some other rides to note, they have this huge gyro drop tower from Intamin. This thing is fun. This is a great ride, gave a really good drop. The view was amazing from up there. So I think that's definitely an attraction worth doing. A few other small things to note based off my visit. At one point, we actually passed by a parade that was going on, because Krake has this general pirate theme, and so they had some floats going by there. It wasn't anything we planned on seeing. We just happened to be in the area when it was going by. It was like, oh, that's cool that they have that. And actually, while we're talking about Krake, this is funny. You got to be careful when you're walking past this roller coaster, because the splashdown on this ride is so big that it all goes out onto the main pathway. We didn't know about this the first time, so some of our group just got completely soaked from this splashdown, because we didn't realize that it all goes on the main path. We were just walking by and boom, there it is. You just get drenched. So definitely be aware of that. Be careful. And the very last thing I want to talk about isn't a ride at all, but it is these slides that we got to do. Europe loves their crazy slides because Heide Park has a few of them, and they're in this huge tall tower. You have one where you slide down these like airport rollers. And because it's so high up, you actually build up quite a bit of speed. And then they have some others that just twirl down, but it's so compact that I feel like they were definitely meant for younger children, because I think these slides were not meant to be ridden by people like me. We were definitely older than the intended audience. However, we still had fun. As a couple of dumb young adults, we saw these slides and were like, oh my gosh, that thing is huge. We've never seen anything like that being from America. We have to do that at some point. So yeah, if you're like us, and you're intrigued by big tall slides, definitely do the ones at Heide Park. So to wrap up this review, I would say Heide Park is a good park. I enjoyed it. It was a lot prettier than I was expecting, but I don't think it is a park that is on my high priority list to go back to. And actually, I don't think I would be planning a visit back there at all if I had gotten a chance to ride Colossos. Colossos is the main reason why I want to go back here one day, because in the state that we visited Heide Park, it was good. I had a fun time here. It definitely wasn't a favorite or anything, but now, because I miss Colossos and it's back open, it gives me a reason to go back. So will I eventually go back to Heide Park? I think it's safe to say at some point in my life, I'll eventually make it back here, because actually since they redid it, it looks pretty cool. I love the new theming that they added to it, so I would like to experience it at some point. But that about does it for my review of Heide Park in Soltau, Germany. Let me know down in the comments below if you've been here, if you agree with my thoughts. If you have anything that you'd like to add that I missed, feel free to post it down in the comments below. And of course, stay tuned for more reviews here at Coaster Studios, and I'll catch you guys later.